It's an ambush.
Oh my God, it's an ambush!
It's an ambush!
Of course!
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a special ambush stream that is also a part 2 of a thing I did like a year ago. It's all sorts of things. It's everything all at once and everywhere. Good morning to everyone. Yes, welcome to a special ambush stream. I'll give my explanations for what this is and why it is in a moment. But first, who's joining me on this beautiful Wednesday morning? Shady Grin, good morning. Angela Arriaga, good morning. Suzanne a la Richard, good morning. JB, good morning to you. Keeverdam, good morning. And thank you, Keeverdam, for providing the link to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Guys, that's pinned to the top of the chat box. If you can take a look at that when you have the opportunity. If you're able to donate, please do so. But even if you can't, if you can share that out on social media, that would be appreciated. So thank you ahead of time for that. And thank you, Keeverdam, as always, for providing the link. Shio Gorath, good morning to you. Hi, I'm Steve. Hello. Alice Morgan. Hello. Who else is here? Adega Outlaw. Adega. Let's call the whole thing off. Good morning. Blitz Zero. Good morning. Super Mutant 2099. Good morning. Resolute Germ. Hello. Full Metal Joker. Hello. And I think that's everybody I see. If I missed you, if you're lurking, if you're in the future, good morning. I'll try to say some other hellos as people find their way in. I understand this is kind of sudden. That's why they call it an ambush. So a couple things about this. First and foremost, I made this great NBA overlay for the previous episode of this quote-unquote, not series, but just kind of thing. And I put so much work into it, you know, the basketball hoop and getting it all lined up. And I thought, I can't let this go to waste. I got to find another use for this. I got a backboard for the frame around the video and everything. You know, I put in some work into this. Anyway, so there's that. But there's a larger sort of impetus for this. As I've talked about on my DEI Death Watch series, one of the things that I've taken a little bit of pride in, maybe it's narcissistic pride, I don't know, is that I have, not necessarily by design, but just by happenstance, archived many examples of corporate executives and organizational leaders saying things and making declarations about their DEI initiatives that, at the very least, I think, would indicate a red flag as to potential civil rights violations taking place. And now that there is a DOJ, Department of Justice, that is mandated and purportedly is currently investigating such circumstances for potential litigation in the future, and that there's such a push for DEI to be rolled back, and there's greater incentive for such companies and corporations to hide, downplay, or otherwise get rid of anything that might implicate them for future legal problems. I think it's more important now than ever to chronicle what examples we have of declarations being made about these things that might be problematic and should be investigated. So, that being said, one of the things that you have to be careful of when talking about whether or not something is legal or illegal when it comes to DEI is really making the distinction, and I'm kind of glad that this word has become so prevalent. Is something someone is saying an aspirational statement, or is it a statement of definable metrics? And what I mean by that is, if I, as a CEO, say, I hope that our workforce resembles the communities we serve. Okay, that may be code speak for we use demographic information to make our hiring decisions behind the scenes. It may be, but not necessarily. It could just be someone saying something flowery for the sake of satisfying their investors or their, ESG overlords or something. It really comes down to, does someone start talking about numbers, or does somebody implicate that there's a numbers system when it comes to their DEI policies and practices? Because quotas are one of the few things in the grand scheme of DEI that are almost certainly indicative of the violation of civil rights law. And I'm saying almost certainly because I'm not a lawyer. Everything that I say about this is always tenuous and tempered by the fact that there may be exceptions, loopholes, or otherwise that can be found by really good lawyers. But at the very least, making declarations about your workforce, your hiring policies based on metrics or numbers or percentages, it's sketchy territory, legally speaking. But you might ask yourself, well, golly gee, if it is legally and it is a little off, how do you incentivize your executives to actually pursue these goals actively? Well, that's where the policy of compensation has come in over the years. I've talked a few times about this on different streams, but there are many companies out there, maybe not so much now as before, a lot of places are rolling back such policies, that tied executive pay bonuses to fulfilling diversity goals. And what are those diversity goals based on? Probably, and in most cases very much so, numbers, metrics, quotas. And so, with all that as preamble, I found this example, this little interview with the CEO of the Cleveland Cavaliers of the NBA. If you didn't know that, the Cleveland Cavaliers are a basketball team. So this was an interview done in October of 2023 by Forbes. Forbes, which has just become such a wonderful pool of examples of executives talking about these things, articles as well, where they're basically cheerleading DEI and still trying to defend it up to this day. And so this is the CEO, Nick Barlage, who I believe became the CEO of the Cavaliers back in 2022. This interview was conducted in October of 2023. So this is after the affirmative action decision by the Supreme Court, which took place in June of 2023, but obviously before Trump became president again and made his big declaration against DEI. So it's kind of in that weird sweet spot territory where the after effects of the affirmative action decision hadn't been completely understood or, let's say, absorbed by a lot of the world, and long before Trump made it a marquee issue. And so in this interview, which is titled, for reference, "Here's Why the NBA's Cavaliers Are Tying Salary to Diversity Metrics." This is why this caught my attention. But what else caught my attention? I didn't not see this, but I wanted to get through my little introduction first. Before I move on, thank you, Derek LaRue. Very, very much. It's very generous of you, Derek, as always. Thank you so much for your support and generosity. Very much appreciated. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you enjoy the stream. Kiro Soldier, hello as well. Who else is here? Juliet, hello. Jill Powers, the River Daughter, hello. John Trioxin, hello. TC, hello. Anybody else? K Shoal over on the Twitter machine. Yes, I'm reconnected to Twitter now after its outage yesterday. And so good morning to you guys. So this is an interview that was conducted back in October of 2023. It is a 20-minute long interview. We are not going to watch the whole interview because I skipped over the first half because I wanted to find exactly where it starts talking about the subject at hand, because the first half is all talking about Nick Barlage's childhood and growing up and interest in the NBA and his business pursuits prior to this and yada, yada, yada. Let's get to the meat and the potatoes of this. I've learned my lesson from previous interviews. Let's get to the core. So we're jumping ahead to about halfway through the talk. From this point forward, I do not know what is said. I do not know what he's going to say, but I am curious to find out if the CEO of the Cleveland Cavaliers gives us any more indications that something questionable may have been taking place for some period of time at that organization. I'll put it as gently as I can. So we're going to be picking up as he is finishing off answering a question about his I think it was either his high school years or his college years, where he was still trying to figure out what he was going to do with his life. And so it starts kind of suddenly, but that's where we're going. The remaining video that I have is about 15 minutes long. I don't know how much of it will focus on the subject at hand, but as soon as it starts to go off into a tangent, I'm probably going to cut it short. So this will probably be a fairly short stream. But just for informational purposes, edification and elsewise, here's the CEO of the Cleveland Cavaliers talking about executive pay and or their DEI program.
And I had a career counselor once that told me this: if you align your experiences with what you're passionate about, not that you try to force your passions to what your experience is, it'll feel like you never work a day in your life. And I couldn't tell you how true that is, because I'm so passionate about this business and in the world of sports and entertainment. It really makes it easy to work the long hours and put in the time you need to have success.
Yeah.
Yes, if you make a career out of what you love to do, you'll never work a day in your life. Heard that before? You guys hear that okay? Let me know. I had to boost the sound a little bit. I want to make sure it's audible. It wasn't quiet for quiet's sake, but I wanted to pump it up a little bit. Also, perhaps more relevant, Hoko Sports. Hoko Sports, are you a Cavs fan? I don't know much about basketball. I'm not a sports fan in general, but I assume they're pretty popular because of one or another player or two. I don't know. Susannu would keep in mind the SEC rules require quotas, at least as of last year. The SEC rules require quotas? Maybe I need some more context on that. What do you mean? The Securities and Exchange Commission requires quotas? Are you talking about like a federal initiative for hiring quotas? Is that it? Okay. Maybe this is information I don't have. But anyway, I'm not seeing anybody saying anything in chat. So did the stream die? Is anybody out there? Uh-oh. I hope I'm not having a transmission issue. Somebody in the chat, let me know that this thing's alive before I continue. Because when the chat stops, I get a little nervous. SWD40's here. Hello. So at least there's that. Joel McLaughlin, we hear you. Okay. Just want to make sure. Now things are moving. Suddenly the chat just goes nuts. Was there a pause? Was there a lag or something? That was bizarre. I'm getting an answer from... Yeah, either YouTube is stalling or StreamYard is stalling. I'm not quite sure. Okay, here we go. You have to have a board with minorities, male and female, and things like that. Yes, there were diversity initiatives within the federal government that are now, thankfully, being rolled back. But let's move on.
One of the youngest CEOs in the NBA, right? And you're only, a year on the job, right? A year and a few months as a CEO. Have you pinched yourself yet? Does it feel real that you're in this position?
I've been very fortunate. I was able to be a part of this organization as I went through the transition as the president of business ops and now into this role. So I had a 5-year kind of head start as I transitioned into it, a four-year head start. And so for me, it's really been about how do we grow and develop our next generation of leaders? How do we grow and develop our senior leadership team? And I haven't really had the pinch me moment yet. We tend to invent or create things that are opportunities for us to maximize within the business.
Okay. I don't know what any of that means. It all sounds like corporate speak to me. But okay, I haven't pinched myself yet. I've become CEO. I can't believe it. I'm CEO of a basketball team.
Maybe someday, but right now I'm really focused on what we can do to make the greatest degree of impact in our community and for our business on a broad scale basis.
Yeah.
Impact, one of my favorite new buzzwords when it comes to potential shifts in DEI language.
To the business side in a minute, digging deeper, but from a leadership perspective, you just said, I was talking to St. Marshall, right? One of your good friends. You were down in Dallas with her. And we were talking about leadership pipelining. Anything the Cavs are doing from a leadership pipelining perspective to help elevate people of color, women in sports, which is still kind of like that diversity. It's getting better, especially in the NBA, but still not, I'm sure, where the league wants it to be.
Yep.
Here we go. Okay, so what are the Cavaliers doing when it comes to executive leadership to getting people in on the basis of their race or their gender? What are they doing?
You think Cavs doing differently?
There's two things I'd point to. First thing we've done, and we have a social responsibility team that I think is best in class.
A social responsibility team. Okay.
But we are in year 3 right now of having a diversity, equity, and inclusion scorecard. And that scorecard is made up of 5 different components. Every single one of our senior leaders has a portion of their bonus that is dedicated to achieving those key performance indicators of that diversity, equity, and inclusion scorecard.
Okay, so at the time that this interview was given, they are 3 years deep into this program. So that means it started somewhere around about, let's say, 2020, and he's just coming into the organization as CEO, at least, as of 2022. So it's a 3-year long as of this recording, which means that so it would have been 5 years. If they're still doing these things, they've been going on 5 years now, but at least at this point, 3 years. So 3 years of hiring decisions, promotion decisions, who knows what else. that have been operating under whatever metrics and benchmarks he's about to tell us?
As far as I know, and I'm not making this official statement, are probably the first team in sports to align compensation with DE&I objectives. And I think that's really, really, really important. We've now extrapolated that out in year 3 to all of our VPs and above. So it's basically a cohort of about 27 people in our organization that have a component of their compensation tied to the performance of how we do from a DE&I perspective.
Okay. Well, like I say, I appreciate these loud and proud declarations from corporate officials and elsewise about what they're doing and the extent of it and just how much they're a cheerleader for it. Tell us more.
I think that's really important to lay that foundation. The second thing I'd point to is we are in year 2 of what we call a leadership and training cohort, where we basically dedicate 8 months of the calendar year to really focus on how we're growing the next generation of leaders within our organization. We make sure that group is diverse. We make sure they're diverse not just in gender or in race, but in also experience.
Oh, also, why bother with race and gender in the first place then? So, but those are considerations for who has these opportunities. Okay.
And in aspects of the business to make sure they represent all of the different business verticals. So we think the strongest way through DE&I is you have to have your house in order before you can go to market and really make an impact from a diversity, equity, and inclusion perspective. And then, externally, we have a whole host of things we invest in programmatically, because it's not just, in my opinion, about writing a check and taking a picture. It's about investing in programs that can change the trajectory of youth and people in our community. And those are things that we've been very focused on as a part of all of this work. It's all interconnected because it can't just be one and not the other. There's an ecosystem you have to be mindful of to really make the greatest degree of impact.
Yeah. So you've spread yourself out all over the place for PR stuff, for community engagement, and you also have internal mechanisms for achieving these goals. I would love to hear what the goals are. I don't know if we'll actually hear it, but I'd love to hear it. And again, I don't know how long this interview spends on this subject. They may wander off. Once they do, I'll cut it short, but I'll at least chronicle as much as I can of official statements from the CEO on the subject. Also, Miranda Stone is here. You guys know about Miranda Stone, don't you? Well, if you don't, let me tell you. That's Miranda Stone. Also, Felicia, thank you so much, over on the X Machine, has provided us a link to a secsports.com, or Sex Sports, from 2022, SEC pursuing racial social equality in college sports. Oh, good. Good to know that our federal government from the previous administration was doing so much for everybody's equal opportunity. Oh, no, sorry, pardon me, equity. Because it really is about equity, not about equality.
Again, here at the Forbes Under 30 Summit here in Cleveland, Nick, when you look at regional sports networks, RSNs, and everybody's digged deep into it.
Yep.
MLB had the little first lick, and now here we are, NHL and NBA are up, and there's going to be a lot of dialogue there. When you look at the regional sports network, that entire ecosystem, what do you see?
I think the first thing is you have to have a mentality that when you go through adversity within the business, you have to quickly get to what is the opportunity.
I have no idea what they're talking about. Are we still on topic?
What can happen from this that can make us better? I'd say one of the things that's making us a lot better as a team and as a league is we're really focused, as I said earlier, on that direct to fan relationship. Okay,
was that it? I really hope I haven't just effectively wasted everybody's time here, because the title of this interview was, "Here's why the NBA's Cavaliers are tying salary to diversity metrics." If it all comes down to a single question out of a nearly half an hour interview, I'm going to be a very upset individual.
Forever, it's been this bundle we've been able to, quite frankly, cash a check from somebody, and now we have to get smarter. We have to be better with data. We have to be better with how we engage, and we have to be stronger in that way. I think, and so that'd be one. Two is, look, everything is going through such an evolving media landscape right now, and I really don't know if it ever settles again. Fragmentation and segmentation is here to stay for a long time. Streaming was the advent of that.
Yeah, well, we talked about streaming over on Midnight's Edge. We actually talk about streaming quite often, about how it's degraded the entire entertainment landscape. I suppose it has probably also hit sports as well. Thank you, Alice Morgan. Different SEC, Southeastern Conference. I'll take your word for it. That very long word. No, thank you, Alice Morgan. Appreciate it. Okay, so you're not the Securities and Exchange Commission. Okay, the SEC. Okay, see, I don't know. I thought it was Security and Exchange Commission. Okay, Southeastern Conference. So the Southeastern Conference required board members to be quote unquote diverse. Is that what I'm to understand? I could believe it. I could certainly believe it. Thank you, Alice Morgan. Appreciate the clarification. Because when I hear SEC, my first thought is Securities and Exchange Commission. You know, I could have believed the Biden administration put some kind of edict out there telling businesses they had to do that. It's not a Poe in that sense. Like, I could believe it. Morgan King, good morning. Mike Savage, Blarg. And TC, if I didn't already say hello, hello. All right, are we going to get back to the subject at hand, or was that it? Was it one question? Did the title of this thing fall to one question?
I think some people think it's going to cycle back over to like a streaming bundle eventually. It very likely could. But I do think you have to look at it for, once again, the opportunity it can create now through this new environment as it's evolving. We can get right to somebody on their smartphone. We can get right to somebody on their tablet. We can get right to somebody in their living room. And so
Was that not a capability you possessed before 2023?
The way I look at it is it's now evolved a suite of options for us to be more prolific in more places.
Yeah.
And so you have to stay focused on that. The finances are going to be what the finances are in the short term. They're not going to be great for the teams. They're not going to be great for everybody involved, quite frankly. They're not going to be great for the RSNs. They're not going to be the whole ecosystem.
Maybe if you paid some of your players less than quasi-zillions of dollars for playing a game, maybe you'd have some more money to spend. I don't know.
The system is being disrupted. And our chairman, Dan Gilbert, has something. He talks about money and numbers don't lead, they follow. And I firmly believe that in this scenario.
Wait. Money and numbers don't lead, they follow, and yet you're tying executive pay to diversity metrics.
We cannot lead with what the money and numbers are. We have to lead with what is the best opportunity for us to engage with our fans and become more embedded into their lifestyles. And I think that can come from this. And ultimately, that
sounds kind of insidious in a way. We have to become embedded in their lifestyles.
That can create the opportunity for us and restart some of the momentum we have at the local media level.
I know a lot of it's still kind of in the motions, right? And
it is.
You can't conclude this stuff right now. But there have been some teams making some moves. Mm-hmm. Some teams went direct to consumer.
Okay, they're starting to talk about marketing and stuff. I really hope I haven't just wasted my own time, and I apologize if I've wasted yours. I thought we were going to be talking about DEI. I was fooled, apparently. I'm going to skip around a little bit here. Yeah, okay. Let's see what the next question is.
Yeah, look, we're
okay, I'm going to skip around until I get to the next question, see if we get back on topic here. So every time that our interviewer says something, we're going to take a pause and see if we've gotten to another topic or back on topic. I mean, what he said so far is, again, red flag enough for me if I was a EEOC investigator or someone from the Department of Justice. The CEO coming into a public interview and saying, we've tied executive compensation to achieving diversity metrics or diversity goals. That would be at least enough to open an inquiry. So that's good. But I thought we'd hear something a bit more. So let's see what the next question is.
Can make the most of that.
Yeah, RSNs is one thing, right? But as we sit, you're looking at a $2+ billion franchise, about over 300 million in revenue according to Forbes estimations. Dan Gilbert's put you in that position for a reason, right? How do you grow revenue over the next few years, especially with all this RSN disruption?
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, look,
I don't care. Don't care. I mean, if that's the only example I can draw from this, so be it. But I was hoping for something a little bit more involved, let's say.
And spending a lot of time and resources on it.
We can go into the business all day, but in order for the business to be effective, you got to have, I don't want to refer to players as product, but you got to have that talent, right? Speaking of that, Donovan Mitchell, there's a lot of talk about his future, right? Are you in on those discussions? And if so, like,
I don't know who that is. I'm assuming he's a player. Am I in on the discussions regarding player hiring and such? I don't know. I'm the CEO of an NBA team. Maybe I am.
I can give you a hint. Just write the biggest check. It usually works. That's what
that won't be
works.
An issue.
Yeah,
that won't be an issue.
A couple more things I can let you get out of here because you're a CEO. You're very busy. You got work to do. And by that Peak Performance Center downtown, it's going to be magnificent. You might get a call from R.C. Buford though from the Spurs because they say they got the best down there now. So
I said one of the best.
Okay.
Yeah, I know RC well, and I love what they're doing
really?
at the Rock, and
we've
taken some of those best practices and incorporating into what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. Let you get out of here on this, man. I mean, again, under 30 event is here. Talk to that young Nick Bartledge, that person, that young entrepreneur.
I don't care about what you have to talk to yourself about when you were a young boy. Okay, well, I was under the impression that the first half of this talk was all biographical stuff, and then it was going to center in on that subject, and it did for one question. That's frustrating. But at the same time, again, you have a CEO of I say a relatively major sports entity saying in no uncertain terms, we have tied executive pay across 27 different individuals in the executive leadership or vice presidential level and everything else to fulfilling diversity quotas, metrics of some kind, based primarily around race and gender. Oh, but also experience. When we have our outings, we will call in people who have experience, as long as they have the experience tied to their race or their gender. I'd be curious to find out if they put out any published materials on their executive pay. Let's just see. On the off chance. Okay, can we get any of those details? It looks like it's just restating the stuff that he's talked about there. A significant number of senior leaders, 27 people, have a portion of their compensation tied to specific DEI metrics. What are those metrics? Can we find out what those metrics are? Let's see. Cleveland Cavaliers executive salaries. Okay. They talk about that there. Not specifically. Executive teams use success to fuel this. Executive salaries, base pay. Let's see. I'm trying to find if there's any actual numbers. What are the Cavaliers' diversity metrics? If I can find that, I'll bring that up on the screen. Yeah, their scorecard. Okay. Diversity, equity, inclusion, for the love. No, what's their scorecard? I want to know the Cavaliers' diversity scorecard. Come on. Don't make this more difficult than it has to be. Yes, well, what is the scorecard? They mention it, but they never give you the details. It's so annoying. Okay, the focus areas. The DEI scorecard focuses on supplier diversity among vendors and staff retention. Yeah, but have they announced those metrics? Apparently not, or at least not easily discoverable. So I might have to do a follow-up to this or something in one of my DEI Death Watch episodes, which will probably be coming out on Friday. But before I get to that, Keldrick, thank you so much. DEI, diversity, equity, and investment strategies. Yeah, that's always the thing that is very interesting about this. For those of you who are veterans of my channel, I can't count how many times I looked at videos from either consultants or executives who would decry anyone who was asking for a business case for diversity, because diversity is just the right thing to do, right? To try to imagine that there's a profit motive in diversity is somehow tainting the entire situation. That you shouldn't have to look for a profit because it's the right thing to do. You know, like freeing someone who's been unjustly imprisoned. It shouldn't matter what the cost is. It's the right thing to do. And yet at the same time, in their second breath, they'll also be talking about, how diversity increases a company's profits and increases innovation and increases output and increases retention, and on and on and on they continue to make the business case. Well, when you're tying executive pay to induce your executives to hit some diversity metrics, and if you even, this is the thing, if you even mention race or gender in that conversation in any way, shape, or form, that alone should be enough to start an inquiry. And so, even though I was expecting far more than this, or hoping for far more than this, that's the best that we have, is that we have the CEO of the Cavaliers telling us that since 2020 and up to and at least through the end of 2023 when this interview was given, DEI and executive pay and a clear scorecard for goals to be hit have been in place, and that there are specific metrics that involve, in one way, shape, or form, gender and race in those considerations. So just like with the previous episode of this, it dealt with the chief diversity executive for the NBA writ large, former executive from HP, which is another company I have some video on from the past. But so this is something that I'm going to try to look out for more as time goes on, because I'm curious to find out and chronicle more examples of executives and people in charge of organizations making statements that will be difficult to get around in the future should they come up again. And certainly I'd like to chronicle before they mysteriously disappear from the record as DEI becomes more and more poisonous as things go forward. Again, I'm still waiting, and my fingers are crossed, knock formica, that we get an example set, that the DOJ finds a company or an organization big enough to make a splash in setting a precedent when it comes to actually enforcing the law on these things. Thank you, Frosted Glass. Is DEI why Bugs Bunny recruited Michael Jordan? No. That is not the case. Michael Jordan was recruited because he was the best basketball player in the universe at that time. You know, and then, of course, Space Jam 2 came out and we found out that we were wrong the whole time or something. I don't know. No, that's not why. Yeah, Space Jam was back in the days where people earned their place in the world, or the universe, as it were. So, Susannu, they are publicly traded, so we'll have public reporting requirements. Yeah, there's that. And there's also the possibility, because I don't know what happens with all the NBA teams, but if at any point in the recent past, specifically, the Cleveland Cavaliers, or as a result of anything involved with the NBA, accepted federal financial assistance of some kind, well, then they're doubly in the dink. The dink? The drink. What am I wanting to say? Yeah, double income, no kids? I don't think that's what I meant. Doubly in the... Where did that come from? Okay, anyway. I think my brain's taking a vacation. I think I need some lunch. Anyway, before that goes completely off the rails, there's a link in the chat to the Discord server. If you'd like to join the Discord server, you just have to click on that link. You'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me you're not a bot, have actually watched the stream, and have thus earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. And today's secret word is Space Jam. Just say hello, Space Jam, and I'll know that you watched the show. Outside of that, tomorrow, Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, will be my weekly episode of TED Excellence, where I take a look at another off-brand TED Talk with TEDx Bingo and everything else. So take a look at that tomorrow. I haven't actually chosen my TEDx yet. I'm still weaving through what's available, because a lot of it is all posted. It's all stuff from like Czechoslovakia or Germany or something in languages that I can't speak and can't translate effectively. So we'll figure that out tomorrow. What's this? Cognus. Scribe, you sexy, sexy man. Oh, gosh. You got me all blushing. Anyway, everyone, Thank you so much for joining me. Not as exciting as I thought it would be, but still an example to file away for the future. If you'd like to take a look at my previous stream regarding the NBA and DEI, link to that is in the description below, where I got to use this overlay for the first time. This may be the last time I use it, but you never know. I'll keep an eye out. And if you guys find any examples from the NBA dealing with DEI, let me know in the Discord server or otherwise. Or you can follow me over on X at scribe_light. Anything else I want to say before we leave? Oh yeah, leave a like on the way out if you would. Share my stuff if you haven't already. And subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Then you can become part of, you can be a scriber. You get it? You can be a sub-scriber. No innuendo there at all. Innuendo? It's Miss Matthews and donuts. Anyway, everyone, have a good rest of your Wednesday. Hope you have a good rest of your week. I forgot the most important part. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society at the top of the chat box, thank you guys so much for your generosity. Very much appreciate it. Elsewise, everyone, I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.